All right, so I think I'm recording here. Let's take a look at problems 11 and 12. They give us a combination of transformations, and they ask us to describe these transformations and also do it in the correct order. So from your skill packet, you need to know the order of the transformations, and the first two in our list here are affecting the x-coordinates. These are before you apply the function. So if your parent function is the quadratic function, before you square the input, then you're making these changes on the x-coordinate. Or if it's the absolute value, it's before you apply the absolute value. Now, the things inside the parentheses are not what a student would typically expect, or at least not what I would expect. When you start with addition rather than starting with multiplication, well, normally you don't do that. Normally it's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Normally you do multiplication and division before you do addition or subtraction, but not when you're affecting the x-coordinates. You do it in the reverse order. And not only do you do it in the reverse order, you do the opposite of what it says. So here when it's telling me to add 5, if I'm going to subtract 5 from the x-coordinate. So, I just jokingly refer to the transformations on the x-coordinate as bizarro world. Now, when you're affecting the output of the function, the y-coordinates, it behaves in a normal fashion. You do multiplication before you do addition and subtraction, just like normal. So let's shrink this up a little bit so that we can have it to refer to. In my order, the first thing, if I have any horizontal shifts, it's if you're adding something or subtracting something from the x variable. And that's exactly what we see here. So in my first transformation, I'm going to shift the graph of f, and that f is my parent function, my starting function. And instead of adding 5, I'm going to subtract 5, which is going to move it to the left. So I'm going to shift the graph of f to the left 5 units. Okay, and that's the only transformation that I need to do on the x-coordinate. So now I start doing transformations on the y-coordinate, and so we do multiplication before you do addition or subtraction. So since I'm affecting the y-coordinate, when you're plotting points, the y-coordinate controls up and down from the origin. So when I'm multiplying by 3, that's a vertical stretch. Up and down is vertical, left and right is horizontal. So this is a vertical stretch. The graph is going to be stretching away from the x-axis. All of the y-coordinates get multiplied by 3. Well, then that takes care of that. Then the minus 1, see, we didn't have any reflections at all in here. So the last thing I'm going to do here is to push it down 1 unit. I'm going to, use that result above. So I probably should have put that in there, that after you do step 1, then you go on to step 2. Working from the result above, working from that new graph. So then we're going to shift the resulting graph down 1 unit. So this only had 3 transformations, but that's the order that you need to put them in. And you need to say vertical, not horizontal. You need to say stretch and not shrink, and you need to have that magnitude in there. Oh, I gave you I gave you a little bit of a hint, helping you that there's exactly 3 transformations. So in the next problem, there's 4 transformations. Now I would probably rewrite this to fit our standard form. Notice how the addition on the outside of the parenthesis is last there, that the x is first. I would rewrite this as the opposite of f, 1/4 x plus 3, then plus 8 myself. So I see 4 transformations here. I know from my order of transformations you have that on the video so you could pause and look at it, that I'm able to do this because I know these orders. You need to study and know that order as well. All right, so, excuse me. I'm going to deal with this +3 first. And I'm going to shift the graph of f, not to the right 3. I'm not going to be adding 3 to the x-coordinate. I'm going to be subtracting 3. And that's going to push the graph to the left. So I'm starting out with this parent function. I'm going to shift f to the left 3 units. And then I'm no longer working with f. I'm working with this new graph that I pushed, f after it's been pushed over. Well, that takes care of the first transformation on my x. Now I have to deal with this 1/4. But see, we're not going to take 1/4. We're going to take the reciprocal of that. We're going to do the opposite of dividing by 4, and that's to multiply by 4. So then, after we've shifted this to the left, we're going to do a horizontal stretch. It's horizontal because we're working on the x-coordinate, not the y-coordinate like the previous time. The multiplication was on the outside, and that was a vertical change, a vertical compression. Here, it's a horizontal. And even though that says that it's less than 1, we take the reciprocal of it, which is 4, so it's a horizontal stretch. We're going to take all the x-coordinates and multiply them by 4. So then we horizontally stretch the graph by a factor of 4. And so now that's taking care of all of the transformations on the x-coordinate. Now I move to the output of the function, and I move to the output. Well, that's steps 3 and 4. I don't have a vertical compression. I'm not vertically stretching or vertically shrinking the graph, but I do have a reflection that's across the x-axis. That negative sign is that's changing the sign of the y-coordinate, and y controls up and down. So if you change up and down, you're reflecting across the x-axis. So then we use this resulting graph from step 2, and we reflect that graph across the x-axis. And you do need to specify x-axis, and not just say reflect. All right, now that takes care of the minus sign, and now finally we've got the +8. We're adding to the y-coordinate. That's going to shift that resulting graph up 8 units. So then we take that resulting graph from step 3 and we shift it up 8 units. Alright, so I hope that helps with those two problems. I think the next two are different, and I'll do them on a separate video. Right, well, I'll just go through these quickly on another video.